Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining today's webinar on how to maximize the value of your incentive compensation data to drive revenue. My name is Kristen Brown. I'm the Marketing Events Manager for Ironside, and I'm going to be the moderator on today's call. Just one quick thing before I pass it over to today's presenters. Any Q&A will be held at the end of the webinar. So as you have questions, please feel free to type them into your dashboard. I'll be reviewing all the questions and we'll share them at the end of the broadcast. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Maria and Warren.
Hi, Maria Ippolito. I'm the Director of Sales Performance Management at Ironside. And my background is I'm an engineer that went into technical sales and sales management. So I carried a bag and I understand being on the other side of the fence and receiving that comp plan. I moved to sales operations where I was for about 10 years and managed comp as well as business intelligence and field sales support. So at Ironside, I've been here about a year and I'm bringing that industry experience that I have to our clients.
Good afternoon. My name is Oren Mink and I've been with Ironside almost 3 years. I've had many hats over the past years, but before I got into sales compensation, I was doing corporate accounting, former auditor, and I bring a different spin sometimes to incentive compensation. But I worked at a client that used software, and we were heavily dealing with sales comp. And now I've been at Ironside, and I love working with different clients, helping them solve their problems. Hopefully we can shed some light on some problems today and spark some ideas.
So today's topic is maximizing the value of data from your incentive compensation management process. And it's really a never-ending journey. This shows basically on one axis your SPM competency and value and time. So over time, you'll add more utilizing your SPM competency. So if we look at this, maybe you're here. Maybe you've had a mature ICM implementation, you have several reports and dashboards, and you're ready to start using all this data for advanced analytics and prescriptive solutions. Possibly you're here. You have a solid, stable operation, you have timely and accurate payment of commissions, and you're ready to take that next step. Maybe you've just implemented or you're about to go live. You may even be paying manually with Excel. It doesn't really matter. The point is, wherever you are on this curve, you can better use the data from your ICM processor system to, you can maximize the value of that data at any time.
So here's a sales performance analytics maturity. There's different areas here. Just to, it always depends where you are, but our point in the other slide was to kind of say, you don't have to follow these in order. If there's something that you can maximize today, you want to take advantage of that. So, typically your operational reporting comes first. It's ad hoc. It could be in Excel and you're emailing it around, and then eventually you're getting a little more descriptive. You've got self-service going on, online statements, a broader audience. Eventually you're getting to adding some interesting things, maybe predictive, definitely visualizations. You're focused on a goal, trying to point people in the right direction. And finally, we'd all love that next best action. So taking this into the sales point of view and that next best action thought process is, I have these different opportunities. Which one should I focus on first? Which one should I make one more call, one more meeting, and I'm 99% more likely to make that sale? Now, as Maria pointed out in the previous slide, you don't have to start at one point and go to the other. Anywhere that you can maximize value, that's what you want to focus on. Across all of these, you've got information management and integration possibilities or needs. So that's another key area that we want to make sure we point out is integration of different pieces of data.
So So this diagram really reflects the methodology we use at Ironside with our customers when we help them solve their business problems. We begin with the end in mind. What is your goal? For our discussion today, that's higher revenue, higher incentive compensation. So what kinds of decisions and actions do you need to take? What needs to be done for that goal to happen? It might be, what are my near-term opportunities? Do I need to close one of these 3 opportunities to hit quota? Why aren't certain plan components driving rep behavior? Maybe we need to increase payouts on certain plan components to focus the reps on those particular areas. The questions and answers, what do I need to know to make those actions or decisions? We focus our business solving on the use of data and analytics. So it's all about the data. What data do I need? Do I have the data in the right format at the right time to follow through? So what will we cover today? We're going to look at what is the typical data that's captured by most incentive compensation management systems. And throughout this presentation, we'll refer to ICM. We're not talking about a product. We're talking about that function. What are the other data sources that you might want to pull from to gain insight? We all know that comp analysts use the ICM data, but what other functions in your organization can really benefit from this data? We'll then cover some use cases to illustrate our points. And since data is the key, we want to make sure it's clean, it's the right data. Oren's going to cover some basics about master data management and data governance.
So incentive comp data, there's a lot of useful information there. It varies by company, whether you, what you do in your incentive comp system and what other systems you're pulling information from. But you know, financial data, of course, sales is being reported in multiple systems. What's the single version of the truth? Some people trust the sales comp system because who cares more about this data than sales reps? They care down to the penny. Therefore, sometimes this sales data or revenue information is very accurate and key here. There's performance metrics that are being calculated, compensation results, crediting details, and those crediting details help drive those performance metrics. You know, how many widgets are sold, who's getting assigned these, that drives all sorts of information like President's Club, you know, President's Circle, just depends what you call it at your company. But all this data is usually in your incentive comp system, and it's highly trusted because it's been viewed by so many people. So many people have gotten a receipt, they've gotten their comp summary, that's their comp detail, and that's their receipt to verify that this information is good. And so you don't just have one eye, two eye, you've got all your sales reps taking a look. So with this treasure trove.
Well, so ICM is the cornerstone of SPM, and that data is the cornerstone of the sales performance management data, where SPM is that larger umbrella. This just illustrates one version of how other systems and data could integrate into ICM. These other systems provide measures, they provide metrics to help finance or marketing make better decisions, and these decisions are the ones that help drive revenue or increase profitability. For example, finance could use historical data out of the data warehouse, could look at current sales trends out of ICM, could take opportunities out of CRM, and could model and could also take in maybe market potential from the data warehouse, and could use modeling tools to look at quota setting. And then when that quota is set, can feed that quota back to ICM. ICM in turn is tracking how sales reps are performing against that quota, and those attainment values can then be delivered back to finance for more analysis, demand planning, forecasting. There isn't just one right architecture. The goal is to use all the data that's available to you that you need to address your business concerns.
So really getting here in the weeds, we can get into sample architecture. I guess we're not getting too deep in the weeds. It does say high level. So we've got ICM reports at the far left here, and that is coming from your ICM system, your ICM database. Now that database to calculate comp usually needs to get information from somewhere. There might be many different sources, so we have here a common data mart, but that could be Salesforce.com, that could be manual entry by somebody, and of course you see in the ICM reports that arrow goes both ways, because now you can input data as well as you can output data for those reports. That data comes in through from the common data mart using an API or an ETL process, and we can go on and on about those details, but what we need to focus on is data is moving all over the enterprise, and when it comes to sales comp, nothing is different there, that you're going to move data all over the enterprise. Some other key areas that people are really focused on is that quota management. You can see that arrows going back and forth too. You might want to manage that quota in the best system out there, whatever system of choice is for you, and then you want to bring that data back into your ICM system as well. That goes with predictive modeling, dashboards, ad hoc reporting. That's all consuming this ICM data as well as other data.
Oren likes to talk about all the technical details, and for me sometimes when you get into the level of protocol and how these communicate, how we store the detail, it can be overwhelming. It can be a lot to chew on. Where do I start? What technology do I use? But luckily, there are firms like ours to help you state clearly that future vision and help you build that roadmap to achieve it. And those burning issues you have, they really direct which pieces you bite off first. Maybe it's addressing mobility. My sales reps really need to see where they are. They're on the road. We need to have an app that allows them to view that data. Maybe it's quota management. It's the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Of course, I agree with Maria that you got to go one bite at a time. We see a lot of clients that they're, trying to go do everything all at once, and they, just want to roll it out. But at the end of the day, it does require some integration. It does require that detailed effort of bringing in the right data, because of course, incentive comp needs data. Maybe you're looking at CRM to see who sold what deal, if that's your source. Maybe you're paying people for leads, but of course you're always going to need pay information, transactional information. That master data comes somewhere. So that's raw data coming in, and you're going to spit out results somewhere. Now, ICM obviously has a lot of data when as we're going through this and we're discussing this. And those are from the rudimentary just results. Maybe people trust that crediting more than the enterprise system. The payout and performance, of course, and that's where we're going to get in here and say lots of people want to get their hands on this. Finance, HR, sales ops, marketing, they all have a need, and that's where those goals come in, and there's different systems to get there, whether that's business intelligence system, advanced analytics, or a performance management system. And that's, one thing at a time. What's your number one pain point is what we like to think about. And that leads us to discuss use cases. We want to integrate, but why? And what are you going to do with all this information? So, we showed this slide a few minutes ago, but wanted to point it out again that you really got to think about what are the outcomes, the goals in mind. When people talk about sales a lot, they're talking about reducing friction in the sales process, those I think they're CPQ, customer pricing quoting systems, and same concept here. We're trying to reduce the friction here and get figure out the goals that people have, and then figure out what decisions, what questions we need to answer. Oh, here's the data we need.
Okay, so we're talking about use cases. Who benefits from this? Well, I think the first bullet and the last bullet are pretty self-explanatory. I have an ICM system. My salespeople see sales reports, and my compensation people use the tool, and they get reports to manage their days and help the salespeople. But I think we forget many times that these other groups, executives, finance, HR, legal, all benefit and use ICM data. Let's start with sales, right? Because they're really number one. The goal here is we're helping drive revenue. We're helping the salespeople. Comp plans drive behavior, so reporting should reflect the metrics and KPIs you're driving to, and that reporting should be daily. It still surprises me that we talk to clients or prospects who say, well, I report once a month. When do you report? After the month ended. Well, I think you need that daily reporting to see what you did, to help those reps determine how far do they need to go to hit that next tier, to hit that quota.
I think, just to interrupt there, I think the key thing in there, you're talking about daily reporting, is the key word there is actionable reporting. So sometimes those results are really important, like the pay, of course. I think we'll all agree, and your salespeople will agree, that the pay is very important, but those daily results give them actionable insights to do something.
Absolutely. And that reporting needs to be at a high level for a manager or executive to look at, or even a rep that's looking at his whole territory and wants to see how he's doing across all of his customers for a particular product, but also at a very low level.
And here's that detail. Sometimes you want to see all transactions, all customers, going down to that detail level.
Well, Lauren, you like the detailed pictures, but in my previous roles in sales ops, I always like the high level view in that big picture.
So of course, I like the detail and sometimes get very analytical, and at the same time, we do like the high-level viewpoint that way we can get answers and get back to work. That's one thing I focus on when I'm working with customers, is getting that information on the screen, and hopefully they can stop at that summary statement, that dashboard, get their answers, and of course, get back to selling, increase productivity. So real briefly, this is a proof of concept we did, and what we like about it very clearly is you've got sales. This is a manager's viewpoint, so he says it sees his team sales. These little charts are micro charts, and so you can see month to month how it's going. Of course, month-to-date payout is on there. Depending on whatever interesting metric your company needs, is you've got average deal size. But what I like about it even more is it marries other data beyond just comp data. You've got pipeline at the bottom right, the whole idea of lead me to the money. So here I am, I'm meeting my quota, I'm getting attainment, but the pipeline is telling me how I'm leading to the money. And of course, at the bottom left is bringing in a predictive element there. It's saying that top deal there, it's got a 99.3% chance of closing. And you can add some additional detail once you click through there.
So I was just at a client of ours a week ago, a Fortune 500 company, and I was really pleased to hear their VP of IT say that he was at a global sales meeting, and the president of the company and the senior VP of global sales stood up and talked about the new ICM implementation. And the reason that they talked about it, and it was on their agenda, was they looked at this kind of reporting as very strategic to driving revenue. This was a customer where we have integrated an ICM system to a business intelligence system so that they can look at this reporting both, here's what I sold, here's what I was paid, as well as do that detailed questioning so that they can drive the right behavior and make the right decisions. Okay, so who's another user? I think this is one that's many times overlooked. I think finance is one of the biggest winners in using ICM data. And from personal experience as well as working with our clients, using this data to help finance in an area of accrual is really important. I know in a previous role, we missed an accrual. And it was a very serious thing. Treasury, we had to go to Treasury. All of this wouldn't have happened if they had used the data in the ICM solution we had. And we ended up, as a result of this, meetings with finance to see, well, can you give us this information? And we started producing regular reports out of ICM to support the finance function. And I think that's helpful for many of you sitting here who might be looking for ways, I need more funding to help keep developing my ICM implementation or to start my ICM implementation. I think if you can satisfy some of the needs of finance, it'll help you on that road.
Absolutely, and as I said in a previous role, I was a corporate accountant, and as a CPA, you know, accruals always discussed, you know, monthly when they're closing the books, should we increase, decrease our accruals? You know, unfortunately, sometimes those numbers are used to help massage the numbers month over month, but it's very important that they have good data to do that. And that goes straight into forecasting. A lot of companies are going to a rolling forecast. If you guys aren't, if your companies aren't doing that, that downward pressure will come to sales comp to improve your forecasting over time because they really focused on updating it every month. It's not a once a year, typically on a calendar year would be during the August, September. If you're in finance or friends or family in finance, you know they could be a little busier during that budget season, and therefore these kind of systems and sharing of data helps improve and satisfy this process.
So I think what this points out as well is many times sales comp is not seen as an asset, but as a cost or a tax on the business. And I think we as a group really need to change that at our companies and at our clients, because we add value, tremendous value to the organization.
So just as a visual of what that might look like, you know, as your finance team is going through their annual cycle or maybe their monthly rolling forecast, you've got data coming in from the data warehouse or ERP, just depends, and then you have an FPM tool, financial performance management tool. There's many out there, whether that be SBase, TM1, now known as Planning Analytics, Anaplan. It really doesn't matter which tool you're using. The same idea, ICM data could be used to help model some of that forecasting. Just depends if you're doing that at a territory, a payee level, a product level. All of those things are possible, and from talking to customers and hearing what the demand out there, they want to do all of those and slice and dice. And this is just one example where some of that comes from the ICM system.
Okay, so who else is a user of this data? Human resources. Think about turnover. Turnover rates are easily 20% and in some unfortunate cases up to 50%. There is a huge cost to turnover. The ICM data that you collect, it gives you a record of these comp plan changes, effective dates, quota changes, performance data. You can use this. HR has used this to analyze why have reps left. Maybe I can better predict who might leave so that I can stop that. it can be a great source of data for resource planning. If you can use this data to decrease turnover, you'll be more profitable. It can also be used for resource planning. It's your system of record for sales compensation. So in many states now, reps are required by state law to sign a comp plan before they can be paid. A lot of these automated ICM systems have workflows to capture that, and that supports not only human resources, but your legal system, your legal team.
And to that effect, before I left the last place, I was actual comp administrator in industry. I spent the last 2 weeks with an internal audit group, and they wanted to see all the details behind the scenes. They wanted to see that audit, the control, to make sure that that was going on. And that was only possible by using a system and having all that data available. So we talked about all these different groups and use cases, and of course the compensation team is key. That is the #1 use case here for this data. And as we've been saying, that we want to maximize this and use this data, and processing comp in a timely and accurately way, and of course reporting on it is always going to be #1. All this fancy stuff, some people might say that's second. Absolutely true. If you can't pay comp correctly, it doesn't matter. None of the rest matters. So we never forget that. But there's these value-added activities on top of that comp teams, once you've automated your process, and as we're pointing out, there's different pieces that we want to take on, that you want to analyze comp plans, analyze performance, and effectiveness. And I think that's the value add that sometimes the comp teams add, figuring out which incentive is really driving pay, which incentive is really driving people to modify behavior. Because at the end of the day, that's a big part of what incentive comp is about. So one example of this would be pay versus performance. And you can do a scatter plot depending on your metrics. Every company might have different metrics, but you kind of see here the line there is a little of a hockey stick. So as performance improves, the pay shoots up, and that's usually an accelerator is involved there. But this is just one example, and just to kind of make that a little more obvious. On the left side there, on the y-axis is a payout metric, which could be % of on-target earnings, dollars paid, or that could be on the right side, the bottom x-axis, you have the driving metrics, sales, attainment percentage, widgets sold. And what I'm saying there, if you have somebody in that top left, you're probably paying them too much money to get you too little bit of sales or attainment. And at the bottom right, you might have people leaving because you're not paying them enough, but they're getting you the numbers that you want. So this is just one example of something that, if you're not doing this today, this should be done. It's probably done on an annual basis, but using these automated systems and integrating it, this could be done on a daily, weekly, monthly level.
Okay, the last use case I really wanted to talk about is sales operations. And sales comp many times can be a part of sales ops, or at the very least, sales compensation is working very closely with sales ops. So the ability to have an automated system with data, it enables these resources, these comp or sales operations resources, to support the business. When you remove all those manual operations, you create time for value add. And instead of spending 90% of your time on maybe scrubbing data or manual activities, you can spend that time on delivering value to the organization. And we've seen our clients, and my own experience has been, when you enable these ICM systems, you now have people who have time to focus on things like territory optimization, customer segment analysis, doing more. We did a big project at one client where we looked at market potential so we can better set territories. So I think it goes back to the statement that we made that these groups then are not looked as a tax or a cost to the organization, but really groups that add value and help support the business and drive performance.
So we've been talking about data a lot, and we're fortunate here at Ironside that we have a mix of groups all focused on the same thing, gaining value for our customers. And one of those things, we have an information management practice, and that includes data governance and master data management. Fortunately, so I've had the opportunity to learn from them, as well as we lean on each other because I cannot be an expert in every single area. And that's what makes us stronger together. And every customer I've gone to has had some problem with data. And so we thought we'd go over some examples and quickly educate a little bit. I know when I was a comp administrator, no one ever explained any of this to me. So it was a good understanding. So data governance. It's basically a quality control discipline for managing, using, maintaining, and protecting information. So now quickly we're trying to think, how does this relate to sales and sales comp at all? And I think anybody who's looked at this slide quickly goes, this has happened to me in some shape or form. If you're looking at the screen, it's Rolls-Royce. Is that paid? Do I pay the person on the Rolls-Royce? Somewhere, people have had this, some sort of error like this, that you're missing the credit. And so there's many different ways to handle this and to deal with this, but this is what we're talking about when we're talking about data governance. You want to stop this problem at the source versus dealing with it at the comp system. And I know what you guys are doing as sales comp professionals, because we've done that, is you're staying up late, manipulating the data to get it right and pay the right person. We'd like to help you stop that a little earlier. So who's responsible for data governance? There's data entry personnel, who's doing the sales orders, database admins, ETL, architects, all sorts of people. Business analysts, report consumers. I see it wrong in my report, but as you notice, there's one person that my wonderful coworkers left off, the sales compensation team. We care a lot about this because if our data isn't right, we can't pay the right people, and we're stuck doing manual work. And it takes up a lot of time, and we can't add that value add.
And I have two comments on that. So when I was responsible for this, my team did not have a seat at that table when I had joined the last company I worked for. But when I left, they had a seat at that table. And I think it's really important because many times the sales comp administrators are the first to hear about the territory changes or a new product when the commission code is not correct because marketing said it. They're really dealing with the data sometimes at the source.
So there's different components to data governance. So as Marie was saying at the source, data entry controls and better policies and procedures. That's, there's always going to be a human factor to this. But there are tools you can use, and there's an ETL process you can do. You can set up business rules for different situations. We recommend all of those things, and of course, a little shameless selling here, that Ironside has a strong practice in these areas as well. Master data management is another aspect, and but both are very important to this process, data governance and master data management. If this is new to you guys, haven't talked to your coworkers about this, haven't find out. You know, many large companies will have a council or a committee that you could join. Maybe there's data stewards in different lines of business, and you want to be aware of what's going on. There's a new initiative for a data warehouse or a change in the data warehouse. What's the downstream effect? Will you have to modify your system? It's not as scary as it sounds. It's just about getting involved with those people that are working on this, so you can be aware of the policy and the procedures.
Okay, so in summary, we've talked about different use cases and how data can support sales productivity to drive that top revenue line. And this diagram, this vision was up there before, but we layered the reporting on top. So it's just one way to think about that. ICM data has your comp data, your quota, your territory, your payees. Your financial performance management systems have forecasts and budgets and quota and profitability and KPIs, and you have advanced analytics capabilities to help you look at those data, pulling that data off the data warehouse, out of the CRM system, your transactions coming out of ERP, and on top of it sitting your reporting layer. So when we talked about eating the elephant, it's, well, where are my biggest concerns? Maybe you have a manual system and you want to start implementing that automated incentive compensation management system, and the box to the left is where you want to focus your time. Maybe your financial performance management systems are the first that need a focus, because that's where your biggest pain is. But it's just a summary of one vision of what your future state could look like.
And as Maria likes to say, as far as the elephant and taking one bite at a time, there's a lot on this slide that you could do. The key is, as we talked about earlier, is picking what's going to bring you the most value that you want, that's for your company. And so sometimes, some things are easier done than others. So you want to look at what's the lowest effort, and then at the same time, what's going to bring the most value to your company. And if that's doing quota management, or if that's doing customer segmentation analysis, focus on that. There's a lot on the screen. No one has to do it all at once. I think most projects we've seen that try to accomplish it all at once fail or have lots of headaches and problems. We'd rather be successful in one thing at a time. And here's one example of a roadmap. It doesn't have to be this, but the idea is still the same. FPM integration, you might have some ad hoc insights and forecasting. You might get a high-performance dashboard, quota management solution, and eventually reach whatever your version of Panacea is, a complete integrated solution. I know we tried to skip the sales side earlier, so if you're not familiar with Ironside or new to Ironside, share a little bit of information.
Right, so Ironside is 17 years old. We have now closer to 100 employees in 17 states. We primarily focus east of the Mississippi. We have some big projects going out in Nevada and California, but our primary business is east of the Mississippi. We're very proud to say we're the #1 business partner of IBM in analytics, and that shows our strength in the analytics area, the 2 out of the last 3 years. And we have many happy customers who would be happy to talk to you and about the quality of work we do and the people that we have on our projects. So what do we do? We're a consulting firm, and we're focused on solving your business problems primarily through data and analytics. And this block diagram really describes how we're organized in our approach. So the first piece is that advisory piece, trying to understand your business problems and your pain points, and provide advisory services on how to use that data and analytics to you. And we map those business problems to a project roadmap, and we leverage our superior technical and development teams to deliver against that roadmap. And I think another point to make here is because of our experience across multiple industries, and not just multiple industries, but we aren't just a sales performance management company. We have all of these practice areas. We really understand your business across all of these functions, and we can use this knowledge to accelerate the value we bring to our customers. I like to start with describing the information management practice. That's where you coordinate, organize, integrate, manage, and govern all that data, the data we've been talking about. The business intelligence group is really bringing that data to the glass and visualizing information, the descriptive analytics. Our advanced analytics group is really our business problem solving division. They're the data scientists looking for opportunities in the data to use predictive modeling and techniques to predict outcomes for you. And then FPM is budgeting, forecasting, planning, demand planning, and of course sales performance management that we're all familiar with. Many of our customers are constrained by resources, so we can offer additional resources. We do this onshore, not offshore. We like to take senior technical experienced people and put them with more junior people so that we can leverage that knowledge and still keep our costs low for you. We want to teach you to fish, not just give you fish, so we have a training department so you can become self-sustaining. And for many of our smaller companies and clients who have no technology or platform available, or maybe that might be constrained, we can also provide platform hosting and managed services. So that is Ironside.
And I just want to add that the advisory part, especially in the SPM area, feels like almost every engagement ends up having some advisory, whether it be a couple of minutes here or there, every conversation, to you know, discovery and requirement session ends up being, you know, collaboration, kind of advising. This is what we've seen at many clients. You know, you know, I like to tell people it's not that I was born and I'm a genius, smarter than everybody. It's more of I've seen and made mistakes myself and seen others' mistakes and also successes, and therefore that's where that aspect and knowledge comes from.
And with the advisory work too, there's a lot of tools out there, and certain tools are better for certain customers. So we're happy to help you look at that, all the technology available, and what ICM solution is the right one for you, what financial performance management system, and so forth. So I think with that, we'll just see if there were any questions. Kristen?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is I'll give you all, we had a couple questions come in during the webinar. Okay, so some of the questions that have came in today were, the first one was, what are a few major roadblocks for integration between compensation and reporting?
Well, I think the key roadblock that we hear over and over is data integration. You know, for report, as far as reporting, this different information, various information, and then the other aspect is sometimes getting everybody at your company together to figure out what they want to report. You know, really focusing on the goal first, so you can get those decisions. You know, before you look at the data and just pick the data, but thinking of the goal that you want to focus on and the decisions and actions that you want people to take.
Okay. Next one is, how do we get everyone to buy into doing this? There are so many stakeholders. How do I start?
Okay. Well, I hear that a lot, and I went through this when I was working at a company where one person really wanted to start putting in an automated ICM system, and we had manual systems everywhere. I think you need, first of all, you need a VP of sales who is really fed up with maybe the manual system and says, I need to start having actionable data for my salespeople. So you need that key senior leader and VP, and then you know, finance behind this to actually fund it, and just one division where you can start. I think many times we talk to customers or prospects who say, we really need this, but I can't get everybody to agree. I don't think you will get everybody to agree. I think you need to pick one pilot area, one channel, one division, do the plans, and when the other channels, divisions, teams see the reports and see the results, at least our experience with our customers, my own personal experiences, they will come. It's like they will come because they'll say, when do I get this?
Okay. What level of uplift can we expect from an initiative like this?
So I guess initiatives vary, but you know, I do remember ZS Associates came out with something last year that they combined a lot of different studies, and it was widely touted, you know, as far as you do one initiative, you get X% uplift. You do another initiative, you'll get even, you know, a sort of like a compounding effect. So whether if the first one gets you 5% or something uplift, if you know you do another one, you get 3%, but that's on top of it, and it builds up there. But I think as Maria was talking, you know, another cliche would be, it's like a football cliche. Everybody wants to throw that Hail Mary to get to the touchdown, but sometimes throwing those short passes gets you down the field just the same. So doing those pilot programs, you know, if you have 3 lines of business, do it for 1. Show that proof of concept. 1, you're getting value immediately, and 2, you have lower risk. So, and then hopefully you can replicate that across your company. So, you know, even if you're not sure what the uplift will be, you can start small before you go big.
Okay, thanks. Well, that's all for questions. One thing I wanted to let you all know is that this webinar was recorded, and we will be circulating a copy of the recording and a PDF of the slide deck. That will likely be sent out early next week. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, you know, feel free to reach out to us. We'll circulate with an email with contact information for both Maria and Oren. And we thank you all for your valuable time today, and hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.